Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rachel Roberts, and I'm the Assistant Professor of Entrepreneurship, as well as Director of Community Partnerships and Impact at the Monfort College of Business. On behalf of University of Northern Colorado, Monfort College of Business, and our partners at the City of Greeley, I'm thrilled to welcome you to Innovation Talks today, the future of local manufacturing. Yay! So tonight is all about exploring how creativity, collaboration, and innovation are shaping the industries that keep Northern Colorado thriving. Before we weigh in and begin, I want to take a moment to thank our event partners, including the National Science Foundation, Ethics Grant, which supports innovative initiatives like this one, and connects our university with industry that helps us to drive innovation. All right, so before we get started with some of our speakers, I wanted to remind all of our students in the room that we do have a student drawing giveaway. So first and foremost, huge thank you to Wiley Roots Brewing for sponsoring our beer tonight. Thank you very much. And also to Luna's Tacos, who are sponsoring our student drawing giveaway. So we have two $50 gift cards to Luna's Tacos that we're giving away in a drawing today. So make sure that you've written your first and last name, you put them in the drawing card, and we'll announce those as soon as our panel finishes. All right. So to kick off tonight's program, it is my pleasure to introduce our new Dean of the Monfort College of Business, Dr. Steve Elias. As our new dean, and before coming to UNC, he served as the endowed dean of Fort Lewis College, where he helped secure their largest gift in the school's history, a $10 million endowment, and launched its Center for Entrepreneurship Innovation, dedicated to supporting entrepreneurship and small business growth across Colorado. He brings more than 2 decades of academic leadership experience, a passion for community partnerships, and a commitment to helping students connect classroom learning to real-world impact. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Steve Elias.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's great to see so many folks here and being here to be a part of this great event. And I truly believe that it is great because it's bringing together our students, our faculty, our staff, and our community members. Rachel mentioned I founded the Center for Innovation in Durango, and it was exactly for this sort of purpose, bringing together campus and community, and campus broadly defined and community broadly defined, so that we get a positive impact on entrepreneurship and innovation, economic development, and engagement with the community. And that's why I'm proud to be here tonight to watch. And I'll ask questions that are, because they're all good people. I don't want to do that to them. I'll reserve them for later. But I hope you do ask good questions of our panelists, because like I mentioned, I've met all of them and they're great. They're excellent people doing excellent things. And so I'm glad you'll get the chance to interact with them. But one of the things that I think is extraordinarily important is ecosystem building. And that's exactly what we're doing at the Monfort College of Business, whether it's through events like this or internships, professional experience. How many of you are familiar with the professional experience requirement of Monfort students? Okay, Ben raised his hand. That's good. Where's the time?
In the door.
Are you familiar with the professional experience requirement? Okay. Good. If you did not raise your hand, talk to Ben. But all of those sorts of opportunities are what make being part of NCD so special. That really, truly immersive education that you're going to receive while you're here on campus, working with people who are passionate about making sure you're prepared when you graduate, not just with a degree in coursework, but professional experiences that will differentiate you from other folks who you'll be competing with in the job market. I'm going to give you a bit of I'm going off script for a second. So I was in Toronto at the Dean's Conference until last night, and we heard from the president and CEO of SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management. And he went through a long list. They do a survey every year of recent grads who are going into the workforce. And there were a few things that he mentioned that I will share with you, not you. One of which is don't bring a parent on your job interviews. Doesn't work well, but like 60% of people acknowledge doing that at some point. Do dress professionally, and if dressing professionally is new to you, we actually have a closet of professional business attire in Keckner Hall. Please feel free to come and check that space out. It's in the basement by the advising office. And another thing that apparently is extraordinarily important that no one tells us when you're having initial job interviews and they're over Zoom or Teams or whatever, you absolutely must turn your camera on, not have your camera turned off. It goes poorly with employers. So don't bring your parents to your interviews. And I guess that means don't have them on your Zoom interview also. Business attire, cameras on, and just be all around professional. And I think by the time you leave UNC and NCB, you'll have all that stuff out with you because we have great faculty and staff and your peers too, who are going to help you if you're not already there, even so that you can be successful. So today's focus is on the future of local manufacturing, which highlights the creativity and resilience of growing Colorado's economy from automation, robotics, craft production, and sustainability. Craft production, I assume this includes beer, correct? Right. There we go. So I'm glad you're here. I'm thrilled to hear from our speakers and panelists, and I'm happy to turn it back over to Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dean Elias, for that inspiring welcome and for your leadership in helping us to connect innovation, education, and community impact here at MCB. Now, I'm very excited to introduce our keynote speaker. I move over to my slide. There we go. This evening, Eric Fitzsimons, founder and technical lead of CNE Creative. Eric, yay! Eric is a UNC alum, and he is also the founder of CNE Creative, where he spent more than 20 years helping startups and entrepreneurs bring their ideas to life. Eric has built a career at the intersection of creativity and technology, leading a multidisciplinary team that turns innovative concepts into scalable real-world solutions. His work has helped launch and grow dozens of companies across Northern Colorado and beyond. Please join me in welcoming our keynote, Eric.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for having me today. I greatly appreciate it. Part of what I love to do is work with young people, and the idea that you guys have is like start out like, I can change the world in a way. I can go solve that problem, right? That's what being an entrepreneur is. That's what this business is about, and ultimately that's what manufacturing does. So before we get started, I'm going to go a little deep on a couple of things. Because everything you know about manufacturing is about change. I don't think there's a single person in this room from old enough to have been around before the things that lead up to where we're at today that are being torn down, right? So what that means is when information change, that means everybody has the opportunity to do something new with it. So, okay. We're going to start with flow with, right? How do we get here? Because everything you do here is in competition. Right? I'm going to break you, then where do we go from here? Before we get started, let's why me. Rachel did a great job of that introduction. I do run CNE Creative Enterprises. We don't exist. Here it goes from. You won't find me on LinkedIn. You will find me on social media. I've got a website that says City of Creative Enterprises. My job is not to be seen. My job is to help others succeed. And as such, we develop technologies. I've got a small knit team. We develop technologies. We run manufacturing, key critical things for them. We embed ourselves in other companies, and at the end of the day, we let them take all the credit. Been doing it for, well, I started with this company in 2003. Our largest customer we've worked with now for 28 years. It seems to be a model that works. With that, we've got a number of customers, as Rachel said, we've built about 1,500 water purification plants across the country. We've worked with oil and gas. Sensor arrays that are found out on oil rigs during the workover process to find defects in production tubing. We've done training satellites for the government to teach satellite design in the Air Force Academy, universities around the world. We've done lots of police products, sirens, strobes, locks, biometric gun locks, docking stations. If you ever try to steal one of those ride-out carts on a crazy Friday night, whatever from Walmart, right? They'll get geofence we designed, keep you from stealing that cart. We've worked in controlled environment agriculture. We're currently working on methane capture and monitoring systems, agricultural robots, you name it. We've been in the business, we've worked with it, we've got great partners. Internally, and I guess I would say I also own and run Plastic World, a steel plastic fabrication company. So we've got a direct manufacturing side there. We've got our own PCB production line. We've got lots of 3D printers, machine shop. You know, so we've seen all the sides of manufacturing, and then we built manufacturing companies inside of our customers to scale and grow. So it's from that background that I'm coming to you this morning, this evening. So Greeley's actually got a long history of manufacturing. We've had some great companies here that are no longer. HP used to do a lot of peripherals, servers. My wife is a project manager there, before they put the plant here. R.R. Donnelly, probably most of you don't even know what a yellow pages or white pages is, but most of them for the nation were actually made just right down the street here. Monfort, you know, you probably heard that name a time or two here in business college. Largest beef production and process and operation in the world here in Greeley. It's since sold to ConAgra, and then it's not JBS today. Mountain States Relevant, a large land processing plant, Greeley Sugar Factory. Actually bought my first house from the operations manager. Sugar company, DNB company. So a lot of agriculture, right? Today, where are we at? JDX, USA, corporate headquarters, massive companies, right? Local, Latrina, Colorado Premium Foods is up and growing here. Pilgrims, one of our poultry producers, is here, right? And then we've got a lot of high tech. We've got Allquist, 3D home manufacturing and building manufacturing. They're building buildings for Walmart these days. Envirotech Services, something completely different. Building the icing solutions and stabilization of soil. We've got Handle Phelps, one of the large construction companies. Black Mountain Manufacturing, right outside the town, steel fabrication machine shop, laser cutting, robotic welding cells, and an AI-driven quoting system that allows them to compete in steel fabrication. We got BWI, Bentley, welding is an oil field company that also does prefab data centers here. New Line Supply, an injection molder. They make millions of plastic parts that go to automotive and medical. Here, you know, so we've got a lot of great companies. If you were to take a look, I'm going to really quickly go through a few slides. I know we're not going to go for detail. Catch the overall topics here. What do we make in the United States? Automobile car, aerospace product, food, beverage, chemicals and plastics. Pharmaceutical, biotech, some electronics and semiconductor, processable product. Machinery equipment, medical device, fabricated metals, right? And then we've got our agriculture. But if I were to go back, what don't we see on that list? Pretty much anything you're going to buy out of Walmart or out of Amazon. It's not produced in this country. Okay. Additionally, we are a major ag country. We've got the breadbasket here, right? Corn, soybeans, wheat, cotton, beef and cattle, especially, you know, we're not listed under that one here for Colorado, but that's big for us here in Greeley. Poultry, dairy, fruits and vegetables, peanuts, and now in some of your biofuels, right? So again, when we start looking at what America is good at, high-end agriculture. Colorado brings this a little bit home. Food, beer. I mean, we got some of the best craft brewers in the world here. Here's electronics, machinery, chemicals, transportation equipment. This is kind of where we're at from a manufacturing as a state level, right? Okay. So kind of understand where we're at. How did we get here? Because the global supply chain is major, in that everything, as I said, Walmart, Amazon, most of the consumables that are in your house, not made in this country. But it takes back to history. Like I said, probably nobody here old enough, but World War II left Europe devastated. Okay. We got all the leaders of 124 nations together at something called Bretton Woods Accords. And at that point in time, we led the formation of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and set the US dollar as an international reserve currency tied to gold. That gave us globally a single currency that could be used in trade. We had a Marshall Plan. Now what this happens, we loaned the Europeans $13.3 billion, a little bit more today's amounts, and in turn, they were able to soak up a lot of our excess manufacturing capacity because we basically sold them the things they needed to restart Europe. But it allowed us to then have a market additionally for all our extra manufactured goods. Israel, 6-Day War, will come back to that. President Nixon breaks the link between gold. Now all of a sudden we have fiat currency, allows for the inflation, but allows for currency much greater that can be used for global trade. Okay. So 1973, Egypt and Syria tried to take that land that was taken in that 6-Day War. Okay, why does that matter? The United States and the West stepped in and said, no, we're going to support Israel. And they said, great, we're going to cut off your oil. And we had a Arab oil embargo, which led to the 1970s of energy shortage. Okay, so having broken the gold reserve prior on the currency, we went into Saudi Arabia and said, hey, you know what? Let's have all oil transactions locally done in US dollars. And we just put the US currency back out of that global reserve currency that was being used for all transactions. We still ended up with a global currency that we use. This is the foundation for what allows globalization to take place. Okay. So soon after that, the OPEC nations followed. All of these things is why this matters. Okay. The US dollar being that reserve currency, all of the excesses, Saudi Arabia, OPEC, as they had extra money that came in that they didn't have things to do with it, they reinvested it in America. They put it into treasuries. Okay, they put it into our financial system. All of that money came in later as we enabled a lot of the Asian producers to produce a lot of products that cheap goods that went into America. Right? We were paying for those, we had traded habits. Japan, China, they invested in the United States. They bought our treasuries. This is what allowed us to raise the debts that we have today. But this is also what has increased that global supply chain that is manufacturing that we know of today. Okay? Why is it breaking now? And why was it always going to break this decade? Well, one more chart of numbers, and I'll put the chart of numbers. Okay. These are the top producers of manufacturing goods, but that last column is the birth rates. China is got 1.01 births per woman. If that is not a replacement, it takes 2.1 births per woman to have a replacement. United States we're 1.6. A lot of that actually comes from immigration. Japan 1.2, Germany 1.35. India is the outlier, but they never fully industrialized. And they are actually 42 kind of independent states, sort of acting as one country, which is limiting their ability to be a manufacturing powerhouse. South Korea, 0.75. We will not have South Korea this decade. We won't have China past this decade. There's more people 54 years and older than there are 54 years and younger. That does not leave them with the manufacturing base. Okay, so going through that means this decade, manufacturing is going to change globally, no matter what. Now, the next reason. We model American manufacturing. You go to our automotive because most of these companies, it was based on lean manufacturing, the Toyota way. How many of you studied the Toyota way before? Right? Okay. This is Japan. It works right here. There's one thing about Japan, it's an island. If something breaks down, you can go to the other side of the island and get what you need really quickly. What happened when we had COVID? Anybody run out of toilet paper? Okay, global supply chains, when just in time doesn't work, right? And we realize this. And so now America is looking at going, strategically, we have some challenges. We need to bring some of this supply chain back home. Even if economically it does not make sense to do it. Okay? There's a couple of the things that are leading to this. One, without getting far into politics, we have had now 4 populist presidents in a row that have put America first. That is helping rate some of that reliance on that global supply chain, right? And I knew there was one other topic in there. Okay, I don't remember what it is, but we'll go on. But and fourth reason, I'm sorry, I do know. Global conflict. What's going on in Ukraine right now is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call to Europe, it's a wake-up call to America. And all of a sudden, everybody's looking and reevaluating the supply chains in light of it. Anybody like AI? Yeah, me too, right? Every one of those processors that is enabling AI is made in Taiwan. 2027, China said, hey, we're retaking Taiwan. That's got a lot of people rethinking supply chains. We can't rebuild that here in this country without a lot of different things, including rare earth minerals. That's another topic you probably heard in the discussion, right? So the gravity of this is this. Everything we know about manufacturing is about change. That's a great thing if you're an entrepreneur. Because what it does is it allows us to reshuffle all of the economics and go, okay, what can I do here that's going to fill the gap that states are no longer available? What can I do here to fill the gap to these things that are key strategically, right? I can tell you, my company is doing a whole lot of rare earth mineral work right now. We're helping build pilot plants, we're helping build production facilities. This is a great place to be, okay? But what is that going to bring? Well, one, lots of automation. If I was looking at being in your position right now, what I need to learn, I need to learn automation.
Yeah.
I need to start thinking in automated ways. I need to start looking at it and going, okay, we're not going to fill manufacturing lines like we did in the 30s, 40s, 50s with people running tools. We're going to put robots in there. We're going to put automated systems. We're going to take and we're going to expand ERP systems. You know, the enterprise resource planning. We're going to incorporate AI. Right now, the absolute hardest job in corporate America for manufacturing is your purchasing agent. They're pulling their hair because they can't get the things that they need. Guess what? That's an opportunity. for everybody in this room to just talk to somebody and go, hey, what can't you give right now? Let me see if I can figure out how to fill that. Next thing, software. Software becomes really cheap. I hate to say this, but there's too many people with software engineering degrees in here. Have one, right? The trick is this, right? I was able to produce an application in 5 days that I know for a fact would have taken us 5 weeks a year ago to do. Software has gotten cheap. Are you gonna be making massive Salesforce applications? No. Are you solving small problems easy in your dorm room? Absolutely. You can do it. It doesn't take somebody with a software engineering degree anymore. It takes somebody who's AI savvy and can make a plan. Okay. And then I think the other one that I would look at is robots everywhere. So if you get the opportunity to start looking at how we're going to do this and learn programming, robots are fairly inexpensive these days to get your hands on. There's lots of people that go, we got a robotics lab up at Ainsville that much working, right? And this is one of those areas where we don't have enough people globally to do the manufacturing we're used to doing. You've got to automate it out. So I will on that, right now I'm actually working with a company that as I said, we don't have to buy, they're about to make 250,000 check valves. And we're building a new automated line that's going to pick apart the first part of that check valve, the second part, put it on, the third part, put it in, it goes around to an ultrasonic welder. It welds itself together, it's pulled off that line, it goes over to a tester, gets tested, and then goes into either it's good or it's bad. You know what? We went back to first principles. Like, we don't need to be moving hundreds of parts at a time. We need one part ready to go. That part needs to get done. Most of this device, when it's done, I'm going to hand our customer literally a 3D printer preloaded with parts that he can run his conduit, his consumables, and his other parts for, right? That over to support the lifetime of this product. There's nothing that says you couldn't do that honestly in normal. I'm running a Bamboo Labs printer in the design software. Okay, I've got some experience, but low entry right now. And so I think I've got more I'd love to talk on this. There are tons of automated platforms that are helping with parts in your hands. There are tons of automated platforms that would love to go work with you directly and buy parts from you. Right? That's their business model. And here's the thing. Nothing's stopping. This is the future of manufacturing. You can do it mostly. You can do it in your dorm room. Adafruit built in a dorm room, right? Okay. With that, I'm being told time's up, so I would take that and yeah, I would say any questions?
Any questions from our wonderful audience? Come over here. No? Yes, please, here.
So, sorry. Okay. I always get told to get what's it called? To get good with AI and whatnot. And I'm wondering, because me personally, I try to use AI, but all I know is to use it like Google, ask it questions, it's faster than Safari, in my opinion. So I'm wondering, how can someone use AI to their advantage and get good with it?
Okay, so here's the first thing you do. Ask AI all the different ways you can use it. Literally, I mean, the newest ChatGPT has a mentor mode built into it that you can ask it to go into mentor mode and teach you. You can ask it any question, any topic you want, and it will walk through and help you understand that topic as a mentor. 2, I've been studying AI for the last several years. Quite honestly, it's a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of people who are keeping track of all papers that are out there and bringing them to your attention. There's some great summary channels that are like, here's what's happened in the last week of AI. And they'll bring half a dozen of the papers that out of MIT or out of the various schools, and you can kind of keep an eye on what's going on. And get a feel for that, but more than anything, go try it. Replit is the platform I use for software development. They've now enabled agents directly in it. Google Studios now got a new mode for building agents. Go look up agents because that it brings so much power into what you can do with AI beyond using this as a search engine. Any other questions? Yes.
All right, I appreciate it. So one of the things I have noticed is while the job market has a lot of AI requirements, employers are increasingly looking for graduates that have AI training. However, it appears a lot of college experience is not tailored to this AI training.
Yep.
So I was kind of wondering if you were, how would you, if you were a student, how would you focus on AI right now and focus on building those skills that will be needed?
The easiest thing I'm gonna say is do it. Okay, AI is an exponential technology, okay? It is doubling every few months its capabilities, what it can do. The human mind does not comprehend exponential technologies. We look at things that make the assumption it's linear. It's not, right? The capabilities of this growing exponentially, which means that there is no amount of training you can do in college that will prepare you for a job in AI. There just isn't. What you can do is learn how to learn. That's your only job here, is to learn how to learn. Learn how to ask good questions, and now you've got AI mentors that can help with those good questions. Learn how to learn.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much, Eric, for that incredible insight into the future of innovation and manufacturing here locally. To continue this conversation, I would now like to move into our industry panel discussion and invite our panelists and moderator to come join us, please. Yay. So this panel will be moderated by Derek Garrett, our Economic Development Manager for the City of Greeley. You all know Eric Fitzsimons, our Keynote and founder of C&E Creative. I'd like to also welcome Miranda Carbaugh, COO of and Director of Sales at Wiley Groups Brewing and our beer sponsor. Maximilian Knight, who's the CEO of Rooted Robotics, and Nick Gonzalez, who's an operations leader at Chevron. Thank you. Give our panelists a good welcome.
Me? Okay, that's awesome. Okay, well, again, we are standing in between, I guess some of you probably already got your understanding of the way it comes here. So
Yeah.
it's always gonna be a tough stuff, but we're gonna do our best. To get things started out though, again, I'm Derek. I am the economic development manager here at the City of Greeley. I'm sure some of you will probably wonder what economic development is. I will save that for a later discussion. We can talk about that over beer. But to start off, I'd love to introduce each one of you. Eric, you did a good job, obviously, as the keynote. So Miranda, would you mind starting and kind of just give us your name, your position, Wiley Roots, stuff like that. Max will go down, and then Nick, and then we'll start with some questions. How about that?
I'm Miranda Carbaugh. I started Wiley Roots in 2013, actually technically in 2009, and then from that point, worked on getting personal funding. We tried to get loans after 2008. It was rather challenging. Just exited college, so lived on one income, saved up to start the brewery with my husband and business partner. Opened in Greeley in 2013. Started just, me kind of behind the bar and grew to the most we've ever kind of had like 18 employees, and now we're about 10. We are open, I think, 6 days a week. 6 to 12 hours a day. We do not do food, just have like 15 taps, do cans to go. And then separately on the sales side, we are in about 300 to 400 liquor stores, bars, and restaurants in Colorado. We'll probably talk about this a little bit more. Pre-COVID, we were in probably 15, 18 states and then 14 countries. We are now downsizing to be able to meet the demand in Colorado, and so we are not in any other countries other than here, and just Colorado, Arizona, and Wyoming.
Okay, thank you. Max.
Alright. My name's Max Knight, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Rivet Robotics. We started the company in 2021. And originally we were actually building our own vertical farm, so we went through a big pivot a couple of years ago, but during that process of building our own farm and designing all of these different things for the farm, the focus was always around automation and how do we make more affordable automation, because this is agriculture, what we're doing, and ultimately we stumbled upon a couple of different areas where we decided to focus and pivot towards developing machinery for the space rather than farming. And yeah, right now we manufacture 3 different standard products. We do custom products if there's a potential for them to turn into standard products. And yeah, we've sold machines in Europe, one in Asia, and mostly in North America. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm Nick Gonzalez. My day job is at Chevron. Here locally, I work at the Greeley office. I'm an operations supervisor over our integrated operations center. So what we're doing is looking to develop new technologies, apply new technologies to our operations here locally and throughout the globe, and also just digitize oil and gas operations. So my background is in mechanical engineering. I did an MBA, went back for another master's in engineering and management. While I was doing that second master's, it was at MIT. I started a company. This is my night and weekend job. Started a satellite calibration company. It's called Vical. Also local. Our targets are out in Wiggins, Colorado. Trying to help satellite imagery become better calibrated, so we can use kind of a standard across globe and have better earth science, better quality science for climate change.
Awesome. Okay, good. Well, I'll start with the questions, and this was more of a broad question. Anybody can jump in as we keep going. I'll probably get recommend certain folks. But I would love to hear. I think everybody would like to know. How would you describe? So Eric did a good job of explaining, kind of broadly speaking, a global perspective, but from a local perspective, what do you see as the manufacturing in the region? I mean, beyond, like on the slides, we have high agriculture, energy, things like that. But beyond that, in terms of like working with other companies, supply chains, customer base, from your perspective, how do you see that, or from all your perspective, what do you see as the opportunities? And let's kind of keep it on the positive side.
Well, I would say we're growing. I mean, we're just absolutely growing. Rare earth minerals is taking off. That's one of the big things. But I think you just got to sense that everything's coming. I won't say everything, a lot of things coming back to this country. And so people are starting to explore where is the manufacturing capacity for anything. And so we're just dealing with uninvolved in that side.
I would say just growing down intentionally. When we first started, we were hand bottling 8 people to package 50 cases of beer. Obviously did not make any money doing that. And then we got our canning line and were able to, start to package a lot more. But Eric talked about the luxury side of manufacturing, and that's exactly what we're doing. We have a luxury product. We'll never be able to compete with, the light lagers that are $2 to $3 less on the shelf. So trying to reiterate the quality of the product that we have that's a luxury good.
Yeah, for us, I have a pretty limited perspective like within my company, but. I would say, we're kind of in a similar place in some ways, to what you're saying, where we're going after a more premium product. But at the same time, a lot of the competitive companies in our space are mostly based in Europe. And they're making machines that are 5 to 10 times as expensive as ours, but we're still able to make a good margin on what we do. And provide a product that fits a niche. And I think locally, there's a lot of aerospace and other things like that means that there's a lot of like fabrication shops around here. There's a lot of CNC mills, laser cutting shops, and water jets, and all sorts of stuff. And that's been really helpful for us to be able to prototype quickly and be able to get very specific components made locally.
Yeah, and actually, I second that, just being able to do things locally, I think kind of goes to the pace of which development is occurring right now. So you think with Chevron being a global company, pretty robust supply chain, but at times when we're trying to move fast, we want to just do something quickly, see if it works, try to pilot something, and then scale it quickly. The local manufacturers really excel. It's folks that we will seek to work with and can just move a lot faster and keep up with the pace that we need to.
Yeah, we see those legacy industries that have been, so have such a strong presence in communities that also then lends itself to having the suppliers and the pieces and components in your local market that you can leverage and maintain or continue to develop new products or innovations. Good.
I'll say this, probably one of the greatest advantages we also have is, a lot of times the great to put a product in today. It may be a couple of weeks. We're typically not months, and that's not normal in the engineering design side of things. And so absolutely what you said, there's a lot of shops here in Greeley that have got some capacity.
Sure, absolutely. And we're gonna start with the other side of this dynamic, because we each kind of talked about it briefly, but there's been a pivot somewhere. And it's always interesting, like the mental fortitude it takes to maybe accept that you're gonna have to do something different. Are there things that you have done or seen in yourself or companies, or even just obviously we have students here, like talk us through some of that. Like maybe you have one experience where you can pinpoint like one moment where like, wow, it was kind of eye-opening that there was an event that, caused something. Like feel free to share, I'd love to know.
Yeah, I'll start with personal and then go to career work. But I think I was very similar hearing, gotta use AI, gotta figure it out. And I was probably pretty against that. Like I felt like I invested to get a mechanical engineering degree, what you got in there getting, doing all this stuff, and I feel so weird to put that on the side or not focus on that and jump into something new. And I fought it for a little bit, and I think it was really good advice just to jump in, like force yourself to do it. The turning point for me was actually I was taking a class at Sloan School of Business, and you had to take a self-reflection survey. And there was an openness to new experiences. So you get rated on like 8, 12 different things. And my openness to new experience score was 1 out of scale was 1 to 100. And I was a 1. So as much as I would love to argue that away, convince myself that it's not real, I took that feedback and just really tried to jump into something. That's how I ended up with Vical, which is a satellite calibration company. You don't have an aerospace background. Didn't know who I was talking to. We were sitting in front of NASA and Department of Defense individuals talking about things that we thought we could do because in theory the physics would work. Super uncomfortable. And I remember coming out of some of those conversations thinking like, wow, I just showed everyone. But it was super helpful, and it was something that pushed me along the path. So for me specifically, it was being open to one of my faults, something that I was not open to new experiences and really dove into the deep end and said, let's just make it happen and build something. I'd say bringing that to work, there's so many parallels now because I work for a large company in an industry that's been around for a long time. So you will run into frequently, that's not how we've always done it. We'll run into, well, we built this process and it's worked for 25 years. And sometimes you just gotta shake it up a little bit and show some other things. So I advocate hard against that now. I think that structurally there's some things within a company that can support that. and happy to talk about that more, but those are.
I think it's important, right, that susceptibility on a personal one, like being able to like lean into that, you're like, yeah, looking in the mirror now and I'm actually going to maybe correct what is out there. Yeah, that perception is reality. Yeah, that's good. Max?
Yeah, for us, the pivot we went through was. Largely practical, I mean, I think the moment that was really eye-opening was. When we were kind of flirting with the idea of a pivot, we talked to a potential customer and kind of figured out roughly what it would cost us to make the product and. Roughly what we could charge for that. And we were like, we would have to sell so many microgreens to be able to make the same amount of money. And we were just like, okay, this is the right move, because first of all, like at that time we were 4 people and 3 out of 4 of us were engineers. One of us was like a farmer, and it just made a lot of sense. Like it's just what we're better at. Like that's always what we enjoyed as well. Like in the process of building the farm, like a lot of what we enjoyed was designing the different systems and how the components come together, how the systems play together, and that's I don't know. It's just very practical for us. That's just what we're better at, and it was better business model for us.
When we started the brewery, we were looking at locations in Greeley. Greeley was dry until 1969. And so when we opened, we were the second brewery in a town or city, I guess, of 100,000 people. And so we came out with very standard beers. And it wasn't working. And so we started to create and become innovative. And whether it's running beer through an ice cream machine, we have beer ice cream. Whether it's running beer through a slushy machine, we have frozen slushies. We've created a cocktail program around seltzer. We use a seltzer that we're legally allowed to make, and then add different fruits and purees for people that do not have gluten or do not want to drink beer. We've created a non-alcoholic menu. So there's things you could have told me that we would be making this, and I would have laughed. But I think the number one thing that I've learned is you can principle yourself out of business. And so just constantly creating and innovating, and we generally like doing that, but a lot of times we've had to do that. And so just willing to try anything and kind of see what sticks.
So I think, okay, I think for us, or for me personally, right? I've done this now for a few decades, and I've been through 2008. We've been through COVID, we've been through things. Probably the biggest pivot or the biggest turn was a mental one. Going back to about 2013, I'm also in the oil and gas industry. It's up, it's down, it's crashing, it's good, right? And I said, I can't do this anymore. And I had to mentally pull myself out and go, this is the game. And I set myself a new set of guidelines and rules for the business to run it like a game. And the funny thing is, COVID came around. Okay, we just leveled up. We're now going to play a slightly different game, but I've got the experience from what I've done before. And because I'm approaching it that way, I can look at it as something new and a new venture. It's not going to just drive me mentally crazy. And so I think where we're at right now with tariffs and with all those other things, it's changing every single day. November 1st, we're expecting potentially 100% tariffs. I run a circuit board manufacturing company. You want to know how awful that is? It's a new game.
In that perspective, right, keeping it at the forefront. That's really, I mean, it's not only does it keep you up at night, but then the solution for what's driving the business. Yeah, and then Miranda, I mean, for yourself, your customer is driving a lot of your product creation, which is, it's really nice that you have the ability to see that or serve it and find it. Okay, yeah, whenever we're on a campus or again, a student sitting in your seats, I always wanted to know, what would you have told yourself if you were sitting in that seat? Again, I know it's about manufacturing and I get that we're here doing C and CB, we're talking, we're doing, but Like, what would you have told yourself? Like, is there things that you would wish you could have looked in the rearview mirror and been like, "Man, I wish I would have known this at that time"? Is there something that you would share with everybody right now? I mean, Eric, you've done it well in the past about 45 minutes to an hour of doing this, but is there something unique, different, or just even something you haven't shared?
I would do exactly what you're doing right now. I spent too much of my career thinking small. I've got a collection of skills. You want me to be a welder, I can be a welder. You want to be a machinist, programmer. CAD designer, right? I always thought too small. I've got an entire Boy Scout badge set of $100 an hour jobs. And I never put them together as a bigger business piece until much later in life. And you guys are exactly where you ought to be to start looking at that from a business perspective and going, how do we make things scale? How do I leverage all of these things?
I would say what an incredible time to enter the workforce. I entered probably almost 20 years ago, and at the time, it's like, this is terrible to try to find a job post 2008. I would now say the skills that you're learning to be resilient, to be innovative, to evolve, that will follow you your entire career, and it's unmatched in comparison.
Right. Yeah, I would say, I think a diversity of skill sets would be something I would want to go back and do. And, I studied environmental engineering, so it's like water treatment, it's a branch of civil engineering. You're not really doing much with it. Most we did was a water lab where we had to mix some chemicals and see how that affected the quality of the water, but practically speaking, like, it was very little hands-on stuff. And with what I'm doing now, I think it would have been helpful to have that broad range of skills. And for me, it's not necessarily about using each of those skills, but it's, as a leader, it's important to be able to communicate to all those different types of people in a company and understand what they're doing, at least on a superficial level, but hopefully on a more detailed level, so that you can effectively manage them. And even in a hiring process, I mean, you want to know that someone's not full of shit. Yeah, you want to understand that someone really does know what they're talking about, and part of that is understanding that field to some degree. Obviously, with AI these days, you can maybe have a 10-minute conversation with ChatGPT about a topic, and have at least a decent understanding of something before you go into something. But I think for me, that's been really a learning experience. The early stage of the companies of the company, I was doing electrical engineering work, mechanical engineering work, all sorts of different things, jumping around, because robotics is really software, mechanical, and electrical. All of those things come together, and getting experience in all of those was really valuable for me.
What I coach my teams to now is, don't be afraid of monsters in the closet. And what I mean by that is, like, when you're a kid, you might consider monsters in the closet and you're scared. You run past it, you don't realize until later that nothing's going on in there. You're probably being silly. And that's how I was in the early career, that I was really afraid to try stuff. I was afraid to take a risk. I was afraid to pivot quickly to a different job or something. I tried to take, like, the quote safe path. And what I feel like I found is there's not a safe path. You might think it's a safe path, and you might think the other thing is really scary. It's probably not the case. So I think early career, focus on taking risks. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of failure. You learn so much from failure. Like, I think a lot of people would encourage you to go seek failure if they were looking back on their career. So don't let that be something that you're afraid of now, and just push yourself to try some of those things, because sometimes you find there was never a monster in the closet.
Sure, I love it. I am making time for one more question. Because it's one of my favorite questions. I asked it last year. And for me, when I was in your seats, another thing that I really wanted when I come to things like this, is things that I can take away immediately. What I'm saying, what I mean by that is, what's the podcast you listen to? What's the book you read? What's the website, like, where do you get your information? Like, what's a source that I'm not tuned into? Put me on that. Because for me, I learned kind of through that osmosis as well, and I think it's also a good suggestion or a takeaway that can be handed off right now. So that's how I like to end these. So please, we're gonna start on this end and let Nick start. It doesn't have to be anything expansive, it doesn't have to be crazy, and it can be quick because we're on time. So again, if there's a book, podcast, something that you would suggest, a TED Talk, doesn't matter. I would love to hear from you.
I'll keep it in the real sense. My favorite book is Mindset by Carol Dweck. It's a fantastic book. And I would also say great things with that word. Kind of pair those two things together, and it will challenge you in different ways, maybe get you going. But both of those two are great mindset.
Yeah, I haven't been listening to this podcast as much recently, but I did come back to the book. There's one of my favorite authors, his name is Stephen Kotler, and his book that actually references grit. I haven't read Grit yet, but I'm rereading what's called The Art of Impossible by Stephen Kotler. And that book is all about, it's basically on a high level, it's like a how-to for being like a high performer on a long-term, like decades-long basis. Just being able to like push yourself and your body for, sustainably for a long period of time to achieve really ridiculous goals. And I certainly haven't done that myself yet, but it's a great book. And the podcast that is kind of a companion to that is called the Flow Research Collective Radio, I believe. And they basically study like flow as like a state of mind for humans.
I'm a big fan of Atomic Habits. Read that recently. I like to follow artists, being in a creative industry, I like to follow artists in other industries. So that I'm following Rebecca Ferguson, the actress, any podcast that she's on, listening to it, and Nikki Glaser. The way they approach their work, how incredible and creative they are. I like following them.
As the eternal student, I try to study no less than about 2 hours a day. I won't give you the list, but here's one I would recommend for you. At least once a week, go hit Fox. If you're not conservative, go hit CNN, go hit ABC, go hit Al Jazeera, go hit the DW out of Germany. Okay, go hit Sky out of Australia. Get a global perspective on what's going on in the world. Because what's going on out there affects you here. And just once a week, get a survey.
Awesome. All right, I think we're out of time. Thank you all. Let's give everybody a round of applause.
Thank you so much. You guys can just right there for a second. Hopefully yeah, okay. Thank you to all of our speakers, our panelists, and our guests for being part of this conversation about innovation, creativity, and collaboration here in Monfort, Colorado. And again, a very big special thank you to our partners, City of Greeley, City of Creative, Wild Roots, Brewing, Chevron, Rooted Robotics, Nemloo's Tacos, as well as our National Science Technology for making this event possible. And before we wrap up, the moment we've all been waiting for, I have our winners. Drum roll, please. Drum roll, please. Our first winner is Kate Lindley. Kate here. Why over here? She's got your gift card for you. Okay. Second winner. Colby Howard. Yeah. Okay, so those are two $50 gift cards to Luna's Tacos. We do this every innovation talks, so please come to future ones. And again, congratulations to our winners, and thank you again for joining us tonight. And please stay for networking if you can. Grab some more food. No drink tickets needed anymore. Go grab yourself another beer. And together we're building the future right here in northern Colorado. So let's make some connections. Thank you.